Hi, Paddy again from ruumi. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how our grass wedge works. So, what is the point of rotational grazing and what is the main point of ruumi? Indeed, it's to help you time your grass recovery periods, which are going to change throughout the season, and to time animal moves between fields so that you can grow the most grass, which of course is the cheapest and the highest quality feed. So we're here to help you optimize that. Now, I've added a couple more fields to our farm, and I'm going to show you what the grass wedge looks like and how it works. So if you click on your animal group, you'll see a big button here called Open Grass Wedge. And if you haven't seen one of these before, you might be familiar with it already, in which case great. And if you haven't, don't worry, it's actually simpler than it looks. So what do we see here? We see all of our fields assigned to this animal rotation from left to right, with the highest covers to the left and the lowest to the right. And anytime you open this grazing wedge, it will update. So it will always show you the latest grass covers. And if you've moved your animals around or the field covers have changed, it will reorder the field. So it always shows the highest covers to the left and the lowest to the right. Now, the blue line shows the demand of our animal group. So across these fields, if we want our animal group to graze down to a minimum of 1,500, then it shows how much grass we've got at that demand and how long all these fields can feed the animal group for with the grass they have in them at the moment. It's not showing forecasted grass growth, it's just showing the amount of grass in them at the moment. So in this example, because the most of the fields are pointing above the blue line, that means we've got a grass surplus, which is ultimately good news. But also, we need to do something with it because otherwise we're going to end up with too much grass, and some fields will start getting away with themselves. The grass will become too fibrous; it won't produce good, high quality feed anymore. So what we can do is we can actually remove one of the fields here, and the highest cover, and we could potentially cut it for silage. And by timing this silage cut well, we stop the grass again becoming too fibrous. We increase our chances of generating high quality silage, which reduces the need to potentially buy in expensive buffer feed or something like that. So let's maybe if we take this one out for silage now, let's see what the rest of our rotation looks like. So just simply click on it and say move to silage. That will now the animal group will not be assigned to, the field will not be assigned to the animal group. And we can see that actually the demand line and the grass supply still looks pretty good, even now we've taken that field out. So what we might want to do next is decide which field to put the animal group in next. So if we just go back to our farm and we have a look at the field they're in, we can actually see, this one's overgrazed, so it's time to move them. Now, does it make sense to move the animal group to the fields adjacent to it? Hopefully it does, but let's just have a check. So if we go back into the animal group, and we can see that they're on field 3 at the moment. I think field 5 is probably going to be the best field to move them into next because it's got a decent cover and we don't need to take it out for silage. So I'll find field 5, which is this one, and I'm going to move my animal groups in here. And I'm not going to update the biomass right now because it looks okay. So there, I can now see that my animal groups are safely grazing in fresh pasture, and this field 3 is now left to recover. Now, let's just take a bit of a look at the grass wedge again in more detail. There's a few other things going on here. So our grass recovery time, also known as rotation length, that's the number of days in between animal grazing events. And at this time of year, happens to be autumn at the moment, then your grass growth speed is slowing down. And you can actually see the growth rate here is low at the moment. So we should probably factor in a slower recovery period for the fields at the moment. Let's take that to 31. And when we factor in a slower recovery period, we can actually see that we're running a bit more at a deficit. So we could potentially use a bit more grass or more fields in our grazing rotation to make sure that we've got enough grass ahead of us to feed the animal group. So we probably want to bring in a field at this stage. And what I'm going to do is I can see pasture 3 is missing. That's not the same as the one we've cut for silage, it's different. So we'll add a field. And then we can see it's a bit better. But actually, we might want to repeat that process and bring in a few extra fields just to make sure that that blue line, the demand line, is nicely balanced with the grass supply. So I can repeat that process of bringing in fields until it's level. So at a different time of year in spring, when the grass growth rate is going up and the recovery time is down, you're likely to rotate around fewer fields more often. This time of year, autumn, the growth rate slows down, so you're going to need to bring extra fields in and rotate round at a slower speed. Last but not least, you can, of course, control your post-grazing target. So should you be wanting to be more cautious with your overgrazing and potentially put even more soil carbon back in, you could take that to 1700 or whatever you want. Or if you're grazing sheep, you could take that post-grazing target right down to 900. And so all of that is in your control. Let's put it back to 1500 for the moment. So there you go. That's your introduction to grass wedges, and it helps you manage your surplus or your deficit grass. So if you're really struggling with grass and you want to sort of slow the rotation around, you could put bales out, you could manage it that way. And if you've got surplus grass, you've got too much grass, you know when to cut it, you know when to store it. And all of this is to help you have enough grass throughout the grazing season, whether you've got droughts or floods, and also to produce enough silage for the off-season as well, or off-season, the winter, let's say. So it's a really useful decision tool. Thanks.